I wanted to make this video to help people out who are struggling with IXL L7, where you're rotating figures around a point. Students have been struggling with this. I assigned this IXL knowing that it would take some of you a little bit out of your comfort zone. It would take a little bit of getting used to. And I appreciate having students struggle because that's how you grow and get stronger at anything that you want to grow and get stronger at. At the same time, I want you to know that I've got your back. I want you to be challenged, but I want you to be successful with those challenges. So with that in mind, let's take a look at this IXL and a couple of problems. Okay, so we've got this quadrilateral and we want to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise about G. All right, so what I want to do is I want to switch my share over to my document camera now. I hope this works. All right, so if you look, I don't know, something like this. Probably not at all. All right, so there was our G, and we were rotating it by we were rotating it by 90 degrees counterclockwise about G. All right. So back to the camera. All right. So we're going 90 degrees counterclockwise about G. So first of all, let's think about what 90 degrees counterclockwise is going to look like. So that's saying that if we have a line segment like this, and we rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, it should wind up, about there. Okay? So I forgot about the variable name. So if this is H, we want H prime to be going off in this direction, and we want it to be as far as H is from G. So that means that H prime is going to be somewhere like there. All right, and then the rest of this figure is going to be rotated from there. So you can try and figure out what that looks like, but that's not super important. The only thing we need to look at is we need to look for a diagram that has H prime in just about this position. So let's see, going back to the IXL screen, let's see if we can find a spot like that. All right, so this looks pretty good. So H to G to H prime is about 90 degrees there. And I can see the same thing is true. So F to G to F prime, that's also 90 degrees. It's in a counterclockwise direction. So this looks really promising. Let's look at the others. Okay, first of all, H to G to H prime here is really small. And the other thing to notice is that F to G to F prime isn't even the same angle. So this actually isn't a rotation. This is a reflection. We're reflecting across a line like this. Here, H to G to H prime is, actually that is a reflex angle, so this would be a clockwise rotation of like 160 degrees or something like that. So that's not what we're looking for. And what can we say about this figure right here? Well, this is right out because we're rotating about G. So G should be in both of the quadrilaterals because the point is fixed if it's the center of the rotation. So notice that G is in both of the quadrilaterals in all three of these cases, but not in this one. So this is not our answer at all. So the answer we were looking for there is this one right here, which reflects 90 degrees clockwise, counterclockwise rotation. And I figured that out just by making a little diagram on a piece of paper, but I could have done the same thing just by, holding up a pencil to the screen and figuring out from there where I thought H prime would be and then looking for it. All right, so let's submit that answer. And so we're going to go through most of the IXL just being able to think about it just like that problem. Let me jump up to a higher level. This is a tool that I get being a teacher. Once you get to 75, you're going to have a slightly different circumstance. You're going to start having problems where the center of the rotation is not in the figure. Okay, so we want to rotate this 45 degrees counterclockwise about I, which is listed there. All right, so once again, let's come back to my document camera. All right, so the figure looks like this. Now, this isn't quite the same problem that we had before. The difference was, for this problem, when I looked at the line segment from H to G, that actually was a line segment on our figure. In this case, none of the figure is attached to I, but it's not a big deal. We can kind of answer the same question. If I put my pencil from I to Y, what is 45 degrees counterclockwise look like? 45 degrees is half of 90 degrees. So 90 degrees would be off in this direction. So 45 degrees is about half of that. And I make it the same length as Y. And so I'm going to expect to see Y prime right about here. All right. So I did the same thing I did in the first problem, but the difference was that I had to kind of imagine that line segment even though it doesn't strictly exist. All right, so let's go back to the IXL and we're going to look for a Y prime that's almost totally above, but just a little bit to the right, assuming I drew that picture correctly. All right, so back to IXL. So Y prime here is all the way over on the other side. So that's not it at all. That's like a 180-degree rotation. Here, you notice that I is in the middle of this figure, of the original figure, but it isn't in the middle of the image. So this, once again, is not a rotation around I at all. This one looks promising. So Y is above and a little bit to the right, just like we were expected. And here's another one of those cases where the center of the rotation is in one of the quadrilaterals, but not in the other. So that's definitely not it. So this was a case where we could rule out two of the cases immediately. But notice again that just looking for Y and Y prime is enough of a hint that I could see that's a 45-degree angle. Again, if I did the same thing with a pencil, if I just held that up to the screen from I to Y and then swept it from I to Y prime, again, I'm going to see that looks like a 45-degree counterclockwise angle. And I could see the same thing going from V to V prime, from W to W prime, and from X to X prime. And if I submit this, keep it up. All right? So hopefully that gave you a couple of examples of how to do this IXL and how to visualize the way these rotating figures look. This isn't a question that you're going to exactly see on the Regents exam in this form, probably. But being able to visualize quadrilaterals going through transformations is something that you very likely will see one question on, even if it isn't precisely like this. So being able to have this imagery skill in your toolbox is something that I think is worth doing. So the deadline for turning this in, we'll say if you get this done tomorrow, so I'll give you 24 hours to take another stab at this IXL if you want to. Remember to go into Schoology and to resubmit your assignment so that I know to go back to the IXL grades and to improve your grade if that's what you learned. All right, so good luck, good fortune as you head forward and improve those grades.